Hello, everybody, and welcome to this awesome opportunity to go live here with Dr. Micah Shippee. He is a kind of connoisseur of all things ed tech. He does stuff with ed tech team, and I am really excited to have him with us to debrief his visit to last month's AR in Action Summit at MIT. Micah Shippee, thanks so much for being with us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Noah. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so for folks who don't know what augmented reality is, could you just start out with like just the briefest of explanations, just what is augmented reality?
Sure, yeah, it commonly gets confused with virtual reality. So one of the easiest way to think about it is virtual reality takes us somewhere else. Augmented reality adds to the situation that we're in. So it doesn't remove us, it adds to where we are or augments it.
And before we went live, you were kind of talking about some of the relationships historically with sports, and so that's one of the examples I always give to folks. Have folks been seeing augmented reality just in the form of like the yellow first down line on
Yes,
NFL games?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the presenters I listened to spoke about how the NFL came to the Madden football game designers and said, "How do we do this on TV?" And that's kind of a cool way to think about it. How video games are can influence our reality. As we spoke off air a little bit, we see games that are like first-person shooter video games or race car games, where as the game player, as the user, you're not looking down at the dashboard in a video game, or you're not looking at any kind of statistics in a video game down. You're always looking up, and that's augmenting your reality, so to speak. But it's in a virtual reality world. So augmenting our reality in our society, I think, is really going to take off. I saw businesses like I'm forgetting the name. It was a CAD company out of the Boston area. They're going all in 100% in augmented reality. They're risking their whole business model on augmented reality. And they're saying this is the way it's going to be. We know augmented reality is going to be the next big thing. So we are going to invest everything. And basically, they've put all of their current research into making stickers that are kind of like QR codes on different products so that people can know how to repair a certain part by showing a screen to the QR code, and it spits out the device, and it has the actual image they're looking at with a CAD designed motion showing them how to take something apart or repair it. So there's a lot of like business applications and industry applications. A lot of talk about how there's some folks that are about to retire in industries around the world that are experts. And when those folks retire, we want to be able to still take from them as much as we can with their knowledge and bring them on site virtually or through augmented reality. And one of the cool things that I learned about was using glasses or goggles for a non-experienced technician to link in with an experienced, maybe retired technician off site to explain to them how to do a job, how to repair a product, or how to put something together. And that idea just kind of blew my mind.
Oh,
Had a
it's
real
really
awesome
interesting.
yeah.
So for folks who don't have the background, you were at this AR in Action Summit. It was at
Yes.
MIT, and it was not so much like with an education focus so much.
No.
If anything,
No.
you were kind of the outlier attendee, and so it was folks in
Yeah.
industry, and yet, despite the fact that it was not traditional education providers, I'm kind of hearing you say that maybe there were a lot of folks in the industry side who are looking to augmented reality as a learning tool.
Yeah. So some of the examples I talked about, but also I had 2 or 3 architectural firms that were there who are saying we're using both virtual reality and augmented reality to talk to our clients about the products we're designing for them. One was Arrow Street, for example. Arrow Street was giving away Google Cardboard type boxes, and as a teacher, of course, anything free I go after. So I said, okay, now show me how you use this with a client. And with a client, they scan the cover of the box and show them an augmented reality image, like a 3D building that pops out. And then they have a QR code so they can put on the goggles and they can walk through a building that. I said, well, this is interesting. How does it affect your relationship with your clients? Because, if you're bringing in a new media to inform this design process, what changes? And it was interesting. They said the thing that really changes is now their clients have more input and want to make more changes to the final product than they were previously, because they're better conceptualizing what the firm is putting together. And that's kind of a neat way to think about it, how it's affecting their whole business model by bringing new technology, so it's more information, but that information is going to come back in systematic feedback that's going to affect the end product, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, and it almost makes you think that the client has, thanks to the technology, the opportunity to establish kind of a more emotional connection to the product for which they're paying for the service, right?
Yeah, really. And you see there's a lot of nascent or new companies that are really emerging. One of them was Hollow Tats. It has like these lick and stick tattoos that you shine your phone onto and it comes to life like a rainforest tree frog or something. They're also making stuff for Under Armour. So if you go into a sporting store and you use your phone to flash a QR code, an NBA player pops out of his own sneaker and talks to you about his sneaker. So they went from Hollow Tats to Under Armour, and now they're the same company has developed a virtual reality tour of a Baltimore renovation project in the harbor. This huge project, and that's just the coolest thing about how this company is working with augmented reality is growing with augmented reality, and in ways that, I mean, who would have thought? Their skill set is desirable for a wide range of industry.
And when I think about just the technology that you're talking about, and there's free and accessible tools for teachers to where, we don't have to be an NBA player popping out of a sneaker, but we could be a really exciting educator popping out of, room 207 placard outside the door saying, welcome to, high school, amazing high school USA. I'm Dr. Shippee, and let's get ready to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are plenty of things already out there. Like you've seen products like Erasmus, pretty common education. Quiver Vision's another one. So some of I've presented to educators and they ask, well, how is it meaningful? And so I look at it like, I understand this is a coloring book and a character dances around. I understand how that might not be the most meaningful impact on content. However, we're also teaching users to use a whole new dimension of learning. And it might be kind of simple at first, but they're looking at it in a whole new way. And, taking a phone or an iPad and going around an image, just that physical activity is a whole different kind of learning. Students for a world that I believe is going to be full of that, full of this whole different kind of reality brought into our existence. And so if it's a little bit simple and silly at first and maybe not super meaningful, I think that's okay. But I do believe in the future that we're going to have access to creation of content as educators. That's what I want to see. I want to see educators creating augmented reality content that's meaningful for our local area, not just someone giving us templates that we can modify slightly.
And
so that's what I'd like to see.
So I'm really curious there as we think about this move from, teachers and students as consumers of AR and VR to actual producers of the content. One of the things that I'm really excited about, just sort of wrapping my head around and working with teachers is this idea that, as exciting as it might be today for a group of middle schoolers to, experience their first Google expeditions, we can probably anticipate that we're not too far off in the distant future when they're, pretty unimpressed with that technology, right? That's no longer going to be getting oohs and ahs from the kids. And so I'm curious, you went to this amazing event that was not geared toward educators. It was geared toward, industry professionals, tech startups, not so much ed tech startups. And so I'm curious, what are some kind of glimpses behind the secret curtain that you got to see that, you can use to kind of give us an idea of what the future holds for where this technology goes and, how it continues to hold the attention and to keep the oohs and ahs going just in different ways?
Yeah, so I saw some introductory attempts at haptics, at devices that give you the touch and feel. So if I had a haptic glove on and I'm in an environment where I grab something, I can feel it back in my hand, something like that. So the haptic, I saw some really low level stuff that's, not quite the sci-fi stuff that we might want to see right away. Saw a little bit with
And
HoloLens.
just to clarify, Micah, when you're saying the haptic, you're talking about that there's actually a sensory link to the
Yeah.
visuals that you're taking in this augmented reality.
Yeah, and so that's another important point. When we talk about augmented reality, we tend to think of it as a vision thing, but augmented reality can be anything. It can be adding to touch and feel. It can be adding to scent. It could be. I saw a recent virtual reality headset that has temperature on it, so it'll give you a heat, it'll give you wind, it'll give you cold. Those are forms of augmented reality. When brought together with virtual reality, we would call that a mixed reality environment. These other ways of augmenting our reality. The one that I think is going to really take off the most is visually augmenting our reality, and the rest I think will just accentuate that experience, because visual seems to be the way that we bring in the most, honestly. The haptic was cool. The idea of a haptic environment. If you've ever looked at Ernest Cline's books, Ready Player One or Armada, and he talks about the haptic environment, and it's kind of in a sci-fi kind of fun way.
Yeah, I think of the movie
So,
Strange Days too. If you remember that movie, that's one that I
Strange
really.
Days. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I
Oh,
saw
you're
that
gonna go
one.
back and
Cool.
we'll
Yeah.
watch it on Netflix. You'll be like, "Oh my God, I thought that was totally gonna be lifetimes away," but it's actually
All
something
right, Strange
our
Days.
kids will get to experience.
Yeah, I will try that. I will definitely try that. Yeah. To your point about kids getting bored with stuff, like Google Expeditions. On a side note, I think we're first going to see something like Google Expeditions opened up to where educators can author to it. I kind of feel like that's what's coming, because it's
Has to
really
be.
closed right now. It has to open up for us. And then, what if we take a whole total kind of crazy futuristic approach and say Google Expeditions is the precursor to a holodeck? Think Star Trek. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So while I agree with you, kids are gonna get a little bored with the goggles at first. I think that's coming in the virtual reality world, but that's not our topic. Augmented reality is, of course, our topic. The thing that I was most encouraged about is that I didn't see anything that was a huge surprise to me. Like I saw, I put on the Microsoft HoloLens and looked at that, and saw how it was a little bit limited still, and it's not the big hurrah that I'm expecting. But what impressed me the most is the large scale businesses that are investing in it, and people that come big $1 million companies taking risk in putting it all into augmented reality, saying this is the way it's going to go. There was firefighters there talking about augmenting firefighters' masks so they can go into a building and see their gauges and everything, and through a building that's on fire with no visibility. There's a former Navy SEAL talking about bringing augmented reality into a combat world in a more meaningful way. I had a conversation with a guy from the company that makes the Black Hawk helicopters. And he said, it was fascinating. Just happened to sit down and talk to the guy. And I said, well, are you going to use this? And he goes, well, I can see a helicopter going down in the Sahara Desert and having to have a pilot put on the goggles so he could repair it. But he says the problem is network and the ability to stream vast amount of data. Outside that to people, but again, the investment is there, the excitement is there, and the AR in Action Summit website, I think it's arinaction.org. They're going to be releasing videos of all the lectures, all the speeches that were there. Dave Metcalf was there. He's the inventor of the Ethernet, so that's kind of cool, And everything that everybody had to talk about will be there.
And your own reflection on it. What's your website where folks can go and read your own blog post about this?
MicahShippee.com is my website. Super creative name. And I kind of use that as my central hub for some other projects that I'm working on. I'm working on a federal project called Augment EDU. That's the website, augmentedu.org. And I'm looking for federal funding on a large-scale project that would also have a learning management spin on it, learning management system spin on it. It's under development. I can't really talk too much more about it right now. I've got some non-disclosures out there, but I am hoping that turns into something. And if not, I have some smaller scale things I want to turn into making accessible for teachers. I really want teachers to get the ability to curate content. My current basic project is location based. So I really want teachers to take the Pokemon Go attitude of students up and moving around a room and going places and seeing things. I really want more of that. We talked a little bit when we met in Colorado about I think it was Avid or what's the project? It's out of Madison.
Oh, Eris
Wisconsin,
Games.
Madison. Eris. What was it?
Yeah, arisgames.org.
Yeah. So that kind of idea, that's the thing that we need. We need stuff like that. I'd like it to be a little bit more simple for educators to create. I use a process now where it's as simple as making a Google map and then following some steps. With Wikitude, that's a super simple project or process. That's on my augmentedu.org website. That's a basic level that I would like to really see people kick it up a notch, kind of like you saw with Eris, similar to that. So,
and when
I'm excited about where it's going.
And by the way, that's augmentedu.com or augmentedu.org for folks who want to check it out. And for the teacher who's watching this and nodding along and thinking, yes, Micah, yes, and they're just getting so excited, they just want to do something, and whenever they watch this, they want to be able to have impact on teaching and learning the following Monday morning. What would be kind of a call to action step that you might throw out there for that teacher? Say, here's something that is not the heaviest of lifts. That's something that you, with just a little bit of time over the weekend or at night, can kind of get going and launch for your students on Monday.
Yeah, the one that I think is most tangible, most immediately, would be some of the Quiver Vision stuff. It has 2 apps in Android and iOS. One is Quiver Vision Education, and one is just their Quiver Vision standalone. But they have on their website, quivervision.com, that students can color plant cells, animal cells, planets, the moon phases. Students can color it, then use a device, an iOS or Android device, and these images come off the page, spin around. Some of them have interactive features. That would really help someone to go to school on Monday or Tuesday and try it out and see students' eyes, see light bulbs, see aha moments, and that's really inspiring. And so that's a nice first step for all of us, just to try it out. As simple as those things are, they capture students' attention very easily and can be used to they can introduce content in a meaningful way. And then, of course, delve into your content as teachers see fit.
Man, that is just so awesome. Micah, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. And just for anybody who wants to get a hold of you, you can be found on Twitter. It's at Micah Shippee, right?
Yep.
That's me. I'm at Senor G. And Micah, just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right. Cool.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.